Howdy folks, this is Big Sam, and you have just time traveled to the year 1916. You see, you have been conscripted into the Imperial Russian Army, and you are about to assault a German-occupied trench near the town of Lutsk in modern-day Ukraine during the Brusilov offensive. And in order to do this, the Tsar has graciously provided you with this, the Mosin Nagant 3-line rifle, also known as the M91. This particular rifle was produced at the Systrarets arsenal in the year 1901. Now, you're about to assault a German-occupied trench, but there's already a problem. You see, as you jump into the trench, you realize that the German trench is only approximately 122 centimeters wide, or about 4 feet wide. Now, we already have a problem because this rifle that the Tsar has provided you with is about 178 millimeters wide, or centimeters wide, excuse me, or about 5 foot 8 inches. Now, that's almost as tall as a lot of the soldiers that have been carrying this. You, in fact, are only 5 foot 7 inches. So, this rifle is taller than you are. So, there is a German about to attack us in this trench. And the first thing, the logical thing to do, would be to just shoot him, but you're out of ammunition. So what you should do next is remove your bayonet, because you can't actually move this rifle about because the trench is just way too narrow. So we go to remove our bayonet, but we find a different problem. You see, this bayonet is a socket bayonet, which means it just slides onto the end of the barrel. So there's actually no handle, so you can't really hold on to it and use it like a knife. The other issue is that the M91 rifle is always supposed to have the bayonet on. In fact, the sights are sighted in with the bayonet on. And there's a screw here that provides tension on this locking ring, which holds it on. So even if you wanted to, you couldn't easily remove this because you would have to unscrew this. Now, we can't do that because a German soldier is about to penetrate us with a bayonet, and that is not good, because we're going to bleed out from a horrible stomach wound and die a really wretched death. So, in order to prevent that from happening, what we're going to do instead is to use an interesting trick that Mosin Nagants have. We're going to open the bolt, pull it back, and what we're going to do is hold down the trigger, and while we hold down the trigger, we pull the bolt out like that. We're going to set the rifle aside. All right. Now, you might ask, Big Sam, a German soldier is about to kill us with a bayonet charge. Why have you just disassembled your rifle? Now, that's a good question, but the rifle we've determined is already useless for fending off this attack. So what we're going to do instead is take the bolt, hold it like this, okay? And what this gives us is this whole surface here that we can use as a sword, knife, bayonet, catcher, what have you. So the bayonet charge comes in, we can push it to the side and block it, and then we have a couple options. One thing we can do is take that bolt handle and put it between our two middle fingers here, like this. Now, what we've done is just turned our Mosin Nagant bolt into a pair of brass knuckles, where we can punch, we can do a roundhouse punch, or we could take this nasty bit here and knock the German over the head like that. There's a lot of really nasty things we can do here, and this has now become an extremely viable option. This is particularly viable because during 1915, the Russian army faced horrific losses of both manpower as well as resources. You see, they were losing at one point 200,000 rifles every month. So there was a logistical nightmare in supplying the millions of soldiers in the Russian army. So this rifle is all you have. You don't even have a shovel. They didn't give you that for some reason. I don't know how you're supposed to dig a trench. Wait for the guy next to you to get shot, probably. You don't have a club. You don't really have anything. So this has now become an extremely handy tool for fending off Germans. We have successfully blocked that bayonet attack, popped him over the head, and then we can get him up under the chin like that and knock him out of the fight, right? And now we can live to fight another day. Pretty neat trick, guys. Now, you might have found that rather humorous, but given how desperate everyone was during the First World War, I find it almost impossible to believe that something like this was not done. It's scientifically impossible to prove, and I tend to think it's extremely plausible because there's all sorts of ways you can grip this. This is just a really nasty thing that you don't want to get hit by. One other horrible thing you can do is disassemble it further by pulling the actual bolt head and bolt body off. Well, the bolt body stays. Now what you have is about a whole inch of relatively thick steel. The firing pin of the Mosin Nagant is a really horrible thing to have to deal with if you're on the opposing end of it. Now what you can do is use that as a penetration device, right? I can get him in the neck, I can get him in the stomach, I could even get him in the skull with this. This is really horrible, and you know what? It's a pretty effective tool for getting someone out of the fight. So there's a lot of horrible things that something like this could have been used for inflicting casualties on the Eastern Front during the First World War. And I hope I've given y'all a pretty good idea of just how terrible the fighting was there. Millions upon millions of men on all sides died in this, and the actual fighting in the trenches was just something really horrible. And we are so blessed to not have had to be there. Let us never forget what those brave soldiers faced. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what y'all would like to see next. Please let me know if you have any prayer requests, and I'll see you next time.